For all of human history, we stood at the bottom of a vast ocean of air, looking up at the stars through a distorted, trembling lens. The atmosphere that gave us life kept us blind to the true reality of the cosmos. Just beyond that shifting veil of gas lay a universe of breathtaking clarity, waiting for an eye that could finally see. We needed to transcend. We needed a monolith. A machine that could rise above the clouds and gaze directly into the face of infinity. A silent sentinel forged from glass and silver, destined to capture the ancient light that had been traveling across the void since the dawn of time. It was named after Edwin Hubble, the man who shattered our stagnant reality by proving that the universe is not static, but expanding, rushing outward into the dark. But to build his legacy in orbit, humanity would have to push engineering to the bleeding edge of physics. They had to craft a vision so precise that even a single microscopic flaw could blind it entirely. It was an act of cosmic audacity, a declaration that a fragile species bound to Earth was finally ready to look eternity in the eye. April 24th, 1990. Space Shuttle Discovery cleared the pad, carrying the hopes of generations and the most expensive scientific instrument ever built. Humanity was finally opening its ultimate eye. As the deafening roar of the engines faded into the absolute vacuum of orbit, Hubble slipped into the quiet, velvet dark. It hung there, a silver mirror reflecting the blue cradle of humanity, poised to look deeper into time than anyone had ever dared to dream. The triumph lasted only weeks. As the first data cascaded back to Earth, a cold realization paralyzed NASA. The images were flawed. Years of human sacrifice and pioneering engineering were instantly swallowed by a catastrophic blur. A halo of ghostly light surrounded every star. The telescope was blind. The window to the universe had been flung wide open, only to reveal an impenetrable wall of cosmic fog. The flaw was microscopic. The outer edge of the main mirror had been polished flat by a mere 2.2 microns, 1/50th the thickness of a human hair. A monument to human hubris, floating 350 miles above us, a multi-billion-dollar failure. But science does not retreat. In December 1993, the crew of Endeavour launched on a mission of sheer madness. They were to capture the telescope and perform optical open-heart surgery in the freezing vacuum of space. Floating 350 miles above the turning world, they danced with catastrophe, knowing a single misstep could doom the instrument forever. The very future of space exploration hung on a razor's edge, resting entirely on the gloved hands of 7 elite astronauts. Over 5 grueling spacewalks, they installed COSTAR, effectively giving Hubble a pair of corrective spectacles. When the new images returned, the universe didn't just become clear, it exploded into existence. Distant galaxies that had been mere whispers in the fog emerged as roaring testaments of light and time. Humanity's ultimate eye was no longer blind. It was ready to witness the unfiltered poetry of creation. Hubble transformed the cosmos from cold data into high art. It looked toward the constellation Serpens and captured the pillars of creation. Light years tall, these columns of hydrogen gas and cosmic dust are the majestic nurseries where stars are forged in the dark. To gaze upon these haunting spires is to witness the universe in its most sacred act, the violent yet beautiful genesis of light. In this single image, Hubble did not just document the stars, it revealed our own cosmic ancestry, etched in the dust. But its ultimate revelation was hidden in the blank spaces. In 1995, Hubble stared at an empty, pitch-black speck of sky near the Big Dipper, a patch no larger than a tennis ball on a distant court. It held its gaze for 10 days, drinking in the ancient, lonely photons. It was a silent vigil into the absolute void, waiting to see if the darkness would remain empty or if it would confess a secret hidden since the dawn of time. What emerged was the Hubble Deep Field. In that single drop of darkness, there were no empty spaces. Only thousands of pristine, colliding, swirling galaxies. Each glowing speck was a sovereign island universe, a sprawling canvas of billions of suns born from the primal fire. Hubble had looked back 13 billion years into the past, capturing the universe in its infancy. We were no longer just looking at a map of the stars. We were time travelers, staring directly into the very womb of reality. And in that light, Hubble altered our destiny. By tracking distant supernovae, it revealed that the universe is not slowing down. An invisible cosmic ghost named dark energy is ripping the fabric of space apart, accelerating the cosmos into an eternal twilight. For over 3 decades, Hubble has been the people's telescope. It brought the infinite down to Earth, embedding the beauty of the nebula into our collective cultural soul. It didn't just serve science, it inspired wonder. It bridged the gap between the rigid equations of astrophysics and the boundless imagination of school children, artists, and dreamers. Through its silver eye, we witness the agonizing beauty of dying stars, shedding their outer layers like glowing veils of neon lace across the void. We watched the silent, eternal choreography of entire galaxies colliding in slow motion, pulling each other into cosmic dances that span hundreds of millions of years. Its images became the wallpaper of our modern world, hanging in crowded classrooms, glowing on computer screens, and finding a permanent home in the human subconscious. Hubble took the cold, terrifying vastness of an uncaring universe and translated it into a language of absolute, heartbreaking majesty. It answered questions we hadn't even thought to ask, transforming our existential loneliness into a shared, profound sense of awe. Generation after generation grew up knowing what a stellar nursery looked like, intimately familiar with the fiery rings of Saturn and the ghostly glows of deep space anomalies. Even as the harsh radiation of orbit weathered its frame and aged its instruments, this tireless pioneer refused to stop sending its luminous love letters back to the pale blue dot. It reshaped the very architecture of human thought, reminding us that we are not merely passive onlookers in this grand theater, but the universe experiencing itself. In a cosmos of near infinite darkness, Hubble found the light, and in doing so, it ensured that our perspective of reality would never be small again. It captured transient moments of cosmic eternity and froze them into human pixels, offering us a glimpse of a reality that existed long before our species drew its first breath. though our fragile bodies remain anchored to a single pale blue dot, Hubble proved that our curiosity could reach across billions of light years to touch the very edge of the observable universe. It transformed a cold machine made of glass and aluminum into a sacred lens of human consciousness, permanently altering how we define our place among the stars. Now, a new titan, the James Webb Space Telescope, peers even deeper into the infrared dawn. Yet, Webb does not replace Hubble. It stands upon its majestic shoulders. Two mechanical sentinels working in tandem, deciphering the cosmic code. Where Hubble captures the vibrant glory of visible starlight, Webb pierces the thick shrouds of cosmic dust to unveil the hidden scaffolding of reality. One chronicles the universe in its magnificent prime, while the other unearths the very first fires that ignited the primeval darkness. This is not a retirement of the old, but an alliance, a grand continuation of humanity's finest collective endeavor. Together, they form an unyielding vanguard of our species, floating in the cold quiet, turning the unknown into the known. They prove that as long as we possess the courage to build such machines, the boundaries of our ignorance will continue to recede into the infinite. Eventually, Hubble's orbit will decay. It will streak through our atmosphere like a falling star, returning to the Earth that made it. But its true monument is not made of metal and glass. It lives in our minds. We used to look up and wonder. Thanks to Hubble, we now look up and know.